Hello. That was the bit where we're reading things
Hey,
out. Hi, Ben.
hey,
How are you?
Will. I'm all right. How are you? So nice to
Uh,
meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks so much for taking the time to chat with me about, um, yeah, about everything. So I guess I heard that Adam Kay, who wrote the scripts for This Is Going to Her and also the book the series was based on, always had you in mind for the part of Adam. Um, how did that make you feel? And what was your first reaction when you initially read the scripts?
When people say things like that, I never believe them. But
Okay.
maybe he did, But I don't know. I always think there must have been someone else before. Anyway, but yeah, yeah. But my reaction was, God, this feels really like it's written by somebody who knows what they're talking about, which is obvious
Uh-huh.
because he was a doctor, but it does make it, you can feel it, can't you, in a script?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, this has stuff in it that like you couldn't, it's not coming from sitting and imagining or researching even, it comes from something sort of lived.
Yeah.
And that was what I really loved about it. Yeah, yeah.
And was there something, I mean, did you spend any time kind of immersing yourself in that world ahead of the shoot? I suppose like maybe what I'm asking is like, was there almost like a feeling of responsibility to, you know, realistically render that subject?
Yeah. Well, I think that there was a responsibility, definitely, a huge one. But we didn't. I remember it was weird, Will, because we were due to shoot it in May
Yeah.
2020, and I got this schedule through in like sort of February or March 2020, and they were like, they need you to spend 2 weeks in the hospital, 2 weeks rehearsing, and then you'll start the shoot. And I was like, wow, this is great. And then of course, like we know what happened, and so the
Yeah.
whole thing was delayed for a year, and then obviously we couldn't go into hospitals
Yeah, of
in
course.
when we started shooting
Yeah.
in February 2021. So we didn't get to do that stuff, which was a shame. But we had three amazing doctors who came and well, kind of spoke to me and Amberker especially, but a few
Yeah.
others I think as well, and just taught us some stuff like how to do suturing and how to do a cesarean.
Wow.
Yeah, we did, and they were there. These three brilliant, wonderful doctors were every day on set as well.
Yeah.
And Adam Kay himself was not there in
Yeah.
person, but was down the line and was also correcting anything
Yeah.
that seemed like was
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were on a plane and somebody, would you volunteer?
I no maybe I think when maybe a few months after we'd finished shooting, I sort of retained some of the knowledge, and now it's all gone. It's all
Yeah.
gone. Um, there's an interesting connection between you and the show, which is our other director. So we had Lucy Forbes, who was amazing, and we also had Tom Kingsley, who you know intimately.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I am so intrigued as to how that relationship came about, and how, well, I've got so many questions to ask you, but
Okay.
how the hell is it to, because you're close friends as well as colleagues, are you? And do
Yeah.
you write together as well as direct together? And how has that worked between you?
Well, so I mean, we met at university and we initially made sort of comedy together, and sort of on live comedy sketches, but would often make short films to publicize the sketch shows or to kind of put, to put online or to work in as part of it. And then once we'd left university and entered into like quote unquote real life, I think from our bunch of friends, we were the two who very passionately wanted to find a way to work in film and TV. And so I actually like was in Casualty for a while as an actor, and he was working as a runner at a company called Blink. And around then we sort of we made a short film. And I think this might be like an interesting thing to sort of say, but basically we made a short film. His boss liked the short film and said, what if I gave you guys 50 grand to make a feature film? And we were like, whoa, that's incredibly exciting. I started writing the script. We started talking about how can we make this work for 50 grand. Then he went on sabbatical, came back and was like, actually, I'm not going to give you 50 grand. That's crazy. But by then we'd sort of, in a weird way, been given permission to imagine that we could make a feature film. And so even after that had been taken away, we were sort of felt so ready that we started to try to raise the money ourselves. And in the end, I think we managed about 20K. And so Tom and I made two micro budget feature films together, and are still like very close friends. But you know, it was sort of time, I think, for us to focus on our own things. But we learned a lot from each other in the early days, and I thought he did, as did you all, by the way, like an amazing job. But This Is Going to Hurt.
Oh, he was just so wonderful, in lots of ways. But he was so. It's so hard, I think, to sort of come in halfway through a shoot and pick up. And he did it so sort of gracefully and made it his own, whilst, you know, keep working within what we'd done, and also just a beautiful guy. But yes. And I'm so intrigued. So, like, did you direct Landscapers and then go through the edit of Landscapers and then shoot the White Lotus? Is that the kind of order of
That's
working?
Right. Yeah.
And how, because this really intrigues me, like how is it to switch those hats, like back to back like that? And how does directing change the way you act, and does acting change the way you direct, and things like that? Or is that a horrible question?
No, I think it's a fair question. I think I mean, I was a little bit, I don't know if nervous is the right word, but felt a little bit strange headed over to the White Lotus, because it all felt like it was happening sort of all of a sudden, it felt like, and I hadn't acted for a while. But I did find that you sort of get into a kind of mode pretty quickly and sort of remember how it feels. The thing that I find is, I sometimes use the analogy of like riding a bicycle in London versus driving a car in London, and how if you've recently been on a bicycle and you're driving, you remember how it felt to be on that bicycle. So you're a little bit more empathetic towards the cyclists as a driver. And similarly, if you've been in a car recently and then you're on a bicycle, you know that the cars are not trying to kill you. It's just like tricky sharing this road. So I feel like there is a helpful sense of like empathy that you gain from having been in, you know, you remember how it felt to be in the trailer for 4 hours while lighting is happening, and then all of a sudden you have to, in 3 takes, deliver the most important scene of the film or the series, and vice versa. So I think in some ways, and for me, I think it's partly that I, you know, in relation to your question about Tom, I think like whatever the scale of the project is, in a sort of heartening way, I feel like I sort of always feel like I'm just with a bunch of people and a camera, sort of in a field, sort of trying to make a story somehow. And so the roles are obviously different, but they are sort of there is a blur between them, I think, and they're all part storytelling. But I think I read somewhere that you would like to direct as well, right? Someday.
Well, I'm so interested in it, but I think I don't think I have the any of the skills required actually. But I am so interested, and I daydream about it, but I have made no steps towards making it a reality at all.
And if you ever, when you're on set, I mean, I think I probably know what the answer to this would be, but do you ever find yourself imagining how you would cover a scene when you're in one?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And I do. And I also know, you sort of know instinctively, you know, sort of how, from an actor's perspective, how that what would feel best. You don't you? You sort of go,
Right.
yeah, like, yeah. So I do have a sense of like, and I'm, yeah. Are you always happy when they say we're going to do it like in one or something? Like I love it when they go, you're just going to play the scene, we're going to play the whole thing, all 4 pages in one thing. I love something like that.
I
Do you
think the
enjoy?
adrenaline of that, yeah, is very exciting because it means that I suppose because I sometimes feel like even though it's not a live medium normally, that actually like the best material is often like you've captured something that actually happened. Like
Yeah,
it's an actual live event that really did happen between 2, 3, 4, however many people, and we recorded it, is like often the best material rather than something that you've conjured out of post-production. So I think it is
absolutely.
really exciting, yeah, when like a situation is offered where that might happen. And also I guess like the nice thing as an actor, I think, is in not always, but sometimes that affords you a little bit more maybe like control almost, over the timing of it and how you deliver it and stuff.
Yeah, and you're so dependent on each other, aren't you? You're
Yeah.
glued to the other actor, and that gives it this kind of charge, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I really loved that. I admired so much to get, congratulations on your nomination, by the way.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I loved so much the whole show. But the way you and Aubrey Plaza play that relationship is so beautiful,
Thank you.
and so real. And I know that the whole show is sort of like horrifying, and we're sort of horrified by these people, but that you do make it relatable. And I think, yeah, particularly your characters, I feel, are very asking questions of each other and of themselves that many people are. And I thought that you played it, and yeah, just beautifully, and
Thank you.
such a different role. Was it was How did you come to be involved, and I mean, obviously it's a wonderful series and had been previously, so it probably felt like a no-brainer, but how did you come about, and what was it that drew you to the part?
Thank you. Well, it was a pretty normal process in that, I was asked to do a tape, which I did. And then there was a couple of other rounds before, meeting with Mike and the casting director. And I was a fan of the first series and a fan of Mike White's previous work. So it was a bit of a no-brainer. And I was one of the last people to attach, I think. So it was already like quite an exciting group of amazing people. But yeah, I mean, I think what was exciting about it was this guy who was very enigmatic and sort of mysterious in the beginning, but I sort of knew that he had some kind of journey to go on, which I think is always really exciting and reassuring. And like you say, like there was something, I mean, an interesting thing was, because in our early conversations it's nice to hear you say that it felt relatable and real, because it is obviously so also very toxic and dysfunctional in many ways. And sometimes like quite uncomfortable to play, and I
Mm.
felt like I was sometimes being almost like pushed out of my instinctive comfort zones of like trying to bring some levity to it or some lightness. But Mike was always like, "Well, I think this is way more normal than people would care to admit." Like,
I think that's absolutely true, and I applaud you all for sort of sticking to that.
yeah, yeah,
Not trying to make it more palatable or less, you know,
yeah, uncomfortable. Yeah,
uncomfortable. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. I
Um,
wanted to ask you about sort of on the subject of tone. How, because I spoke to our mutual friend Naomi Depere, just saying how much I enjoyed the series and how brilliant I thought you were. And she mentioned that initially you had one query, which was about whether you weren't sure if you were sort of funny enough to play the role of Adam, but obviously you are extremely funny in the show. Do you feel differently having been through it? Was that an anxiety you carried through the shoot, or did you start to feel funnier as it went on, I suppose?
it's a really good question. It's a really good question. I always, I think I had to sort of give, because like I love doing comedy or things that have comedy in them, and I think everything has comedy in them. I know you must feel exactly the same, but I don't feel inherently a funny person. I'm not like gonna stand up and make people laugh. I'm just not a kind of funny person. So, but this character has some kind of, he is a kind of funny person, and he knows he's funny. So I
Uh-huh.
had to, well, you know, he's got that a confidence about that. So I don't know. I'm trying to remember how I sort of got over my nerves. I think I thought I just have to ground this in something completely real, like, and then just hope that if it's funny, it's funny, you know, like if he's,
Right.
and sometimes maybe he's not that funny. Like
Yeah.
sometimes maybe his jokes fall flat, and that's okay. Like I tried to just make it as real as possible in his own mind. And I got very nervous about those addressing the camera,
Uh-huh.
but eventually I did like that too. Um, but because it's hard to sort of, it was hard, as you say, sort of tonally to know how to do that. But fortunately, Lucy, Forbes, and Tom were amazing at kind of, well, giving me good direction. You know, I, you really, God, you know, it's a good director is so important, isn't it? I value it so deeply. I don't
Yeah.
think I really depend on the director. I don't feel I can do it all alone. Kind of. I mean, I'm sure most people don't, but I wonder sometimes about actors whether they do just come in and kind of whoosh, and they're somehow beyond direction. Do you know what I mean? And I think some people
Right.
probably are, but I'm not like that. How
Okay.
about you? Do you? How do you? Do you have a thing you like from a director, or seek, or don't want, or are there things you feel like?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, I feel like on like any sort of honest relationship is, it tends to
Yeah,
be the best. So if you feel I guess like I was about to say you want to feel able to be vulnerable around your director, I
yeah.
think, and to feel like that's okay, and to make mistakes, and to trust that, and to trust that if you try something and it doesn't work, they'll spot it and kind of, have your back. How about yourself?
I completely agree. I want complete honesty. I want actually brutal honesty. I mean, try to.
Yeah.
It's nice that they can be sort of nice as well, but I quite like I quite like feeling scared, a bit scared,
Yes. Yeah.
and pushed. I really
Yeah.
don't want to be, but I also get terribly shy around directors, and so I want them. And Lucy was brilliant because Lucy is very direct,
Yeah.
and also I also love, it's crazy, isn't it, that sometimes it does boil down to do it faster, or
Yeah.
don't think, or
Yeah. Look over there,
um,
not there.
yeah, or
Yeah.
look over there, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
or something that seems like it's going to be kind of technical, and but it can. unlock something. I'm so intrigued. Do you I'm so intrigued. This is one thing I think this is why I don't think I would be able to be a director, is because I don't think I would know what to say to an actor. But do you find that something that happens instinctively for you? You're just to make their performance better, to help them. I feel you can do that.
That's a really good question.
Obviously you do, because you're amazing.
I don't know. I feel like it's something you definitely learn over time. Do you know what? I feel like that is why rehearsals are so important, and any sort of time that you can have together as a group before you jump in. It's not really to drill, for me anyway, on either side of the camera. It's not really to drill the scene. It's actually to get a sense of each other and what the language is, because it's not the same for everyone, I don't think. And maybe over time, you get slightly better at being able to read what would be helpful for the other person and not just what feels good for you to say or do, you know.
Yes.
And I've got better as well, I think, at sometimes saying, don't really have any thoughts yet. I think we should, you know, do it again.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, I'm still working it out, kind of thing. Which maybe at one point I would have felt like, well, that's not directing, that's just like sitting there. You know?
Yeah. But it's a good, honest answer, isn't it?
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, because like, so with the comedy in This Is Going to Hurt, I feel like part of what was so powerful about it and sort of funny was that I suppose in certain walks of life and for certain people, certain personalities, humor is such a defense mechanism against the sort of potentially painful or stressful things. And Adam is a character who is, you know, who is under an extraordinary amount of stress in his personal and professional life, which you played, you know, so beautifully, sort of lightheartedly, but also I really felt the depth of that stress and pain. And is that something that you are able to sort of leave at work, or do you find yourself like carrying that stuff around with you, you know, at home and even a little bit after the job has ended, maybe?
I think I'm pretty good at leaving it at work. And actually, you know, I never really I enjoy that. I enjoy the that's what I find everything else around filming quite stressful, but the actual acting bit I really just love. And I feel very present in that, and then very able to move on to the next scene or go home and learn the lines for it. I don't find it like, I've never had a sensation of like, oh, this has harmed me or disturbed me in some way. I've never felt that. I really just love it, even if the character's going through something traumatic. I've always quite enjoyed it.
Does it almost feel like a safe place to have those feelings or to sort of be that vulnerable? It's kind of like, well, this is a place where it's appropriate and controlled, and so it's a place to put it almost.
I think that's really true. I think it's weird. I think I'm sort of more in touch with things when I'm filming or acting generally, you know, on stage or wherever, than I am in my life. I think I probably am. That's probably true. What about you? It must be so, I'm so fascinated by how it is to act in your own things and in your own writing. And I mean, I'm guessing here, I'm assuming that Flowers, for instance, is something that might have a personal basis, or at least I assume it came from something personally you wanted to express. So that must be, how does that all kind of work? Like, in terms of what we were talking about?
I don't know. I mean, with flowers, it did come from somewhere personal, but also I suppose, like, I think I was saying a lot more than I realized I was saying, like as I was writing it or performing it. So after a certain point, I started to realize what the show was about, a bit more, and where
Yeah,
the character would take me. But I, like, for instance, like with the character of Shun, who's like a Japanese illustrator who's come to live in England.
it's
It took
amazing.
me
You're
to,
amazing. You're amazing
oh,
as
thank you.
Shun. I love him.
But is it like it took me till that, like towards the end of shooting the second series, I remember turning to Naomi actually and saying, I've just realized that this is sort of about how it felt to come to England as a boy from Japan. She was like, yeah, obviously. And I was like, I thought it was about my mum. I thought it was
Yeah,
about, like,
yeah,
but yeah, it is funny. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like I'm getting better at leaving work at work, but I definitely would share with you the feeling that actually it's quite a nice thing to be able to have a space where you can, you know, try stuff out and feel certain things safely.
definitely.
So Ben, some questions have started to come in from the audience. So I'm going
Okay.
to read one. You didn't go through, Will, you didn't go through more traditional UK drama school training. Did you source teachings beyond Footlights? And Ben, did you continue to take workshops after RADA, or did you feel ready by that point? Um, I didn't source for, I didn't have training. I think I sort of tried to learn on the by doing it, by sort of making things, making short films, and sort of I did sort of also do some like open mic comedy even, and music sometimes, just to try to I guess learn how to perform in front of an audience. But yeah, how about you, Ben? After RADA, did you continue to seek out training of one kind or another?
No, I didn't, but I didn't, but I think that you learn. I think that I think I just kept on learning. I was lucky to work, and then you work. I work with some great people. I was very lucky, and you do learn things. You actually, yeah. So I feel like I'm still learning. It's a big, long learning thing. But definitely, I learned things from directors I then subsequently worked with, and other actors, and watching more stuff. And yeah, it definitely doesn't sort of just stop when you leave drama school, for me anyway. Yeah.
And do you just for me, because I don't have experience of drama school or training. I think the closest thing was like I did a stint at the RSC, and there was like quite a lot of workshops and rehearsal. But is it something that you still think about, sort of job to job, and use those tools when you're working?
um if I feel really terrified and stuck,
Right.
I do go, okay, just go back to the basic things, and I get the little book out that I'm kept throughout the training, and I do sometimes go back to it because it sort of grounds you, because your head can spin off, can't it? Well, mine can anyway, into sort of you know,
Yeah.
you can get, I don't know, but so it can be useful to be grounded back in some things that are just good tools. Yeah.
I'm trying to now find the comments, because hang on, here we go. Shannon. Ben, what are the positives of working in TV over film for you? We often hear about the positives of film over TV. I'm curious about what draws you to working in television.
What do I love working in TV because I think it's very actor friendly, very actor centered.
Mhm.
And the writing is often very rich and very, very good. And there's more time to explore character, isn't there? And
Yeah.
that's sort of my favorite thing. And I'm sure do you feel the same, Will?
Oh, I think that's true, that definitely in film there's less time to have scenes for kind of supporting roles or to explore, as you say, like a character for character's sake. It tends to be much more story driven, often centered on one or two lead characters.
Yeah.
So it's there's less space for trying stuff, I think, film is fair. Yeah. Sorry, I feel like such a old fashioned.
Oh, I'll ask this because this is for
We
you.
got it.
Will, Flowers ticked all the dark comedy drama boxes. That happens so rarely. It's magic, I agree. How much of it is drawn from true characters / events? Was it a torturous writing experience?
It was sometimes quite lonely and excavating, but also very cathartic. And it was some people I think are very good at writing in a like really autobiographical way. Whereas I find that I have to put it through some kind of prism and sort of to create some distance, maybe even. So it all comes from somewhere, hopefully, that is real and honest, but very little of it is lifted directly from life.
Yes.
Edward, amazing work from both of you. Did the shows appear in the same way as how you read it in the script?
Yes. Very much so with This Is Going to Hurt. Yeah. I felt like it was really clear on the page, and it sort of it felt like it then just kind of translated quite naturally to the screen. It didn't go through much sort of carving up or swapping around or changing in the edit. What about, did you have a sense of that on the White Lotus?
I think also very similar, and Mike White's scripts were very clean.
Yeah.
And so not that much changed really in the edit. If anything, maybe it was sort of even sort of darker and more tense than I'd imagined.
Yes.
So I think he really lent into that in a good way. I had one last question for you, Ben, which was about sort of in relation to sort of TV, I suppose, but it's film and TV, which is Paddington, which obviously you so iconically voice. With something like that, because now there's also a TV show, right? So you voiced many episodes of him in the TV show. With someone like Paddington, who you've spent a lot of time with, like on the job, do you find yourself when you're sort of out and about ever just sort of thinking of a moment or something as Paddington? Like, do you carry him around with you at all?
I don't think like that, but
okay.
No, but because I've done it so much now, I don't know how many episodes of the TV show we've done, but it's a lot. There's no effort involved in any longer or any fear. I feel very it feels very close to me, and I really love the character. I really adore, and I feel very protective of him. Yeah. And yes. I couldn't let anybody else take over the voice for the television. There was a bit of that maybe I wouldn't be able to do the thing, and I just couldn't let someone else do it. It was like, no, it just was wrong.
I don't think the public would have stood for that either. I think there's time for just one last very, very quick question. Oh, do you have a key piece of advice to share with actors starting out? I always say the thing that helped me starting out, which was when I read or watched an Armando Iannucci interview, and in which he said everybody is winging it and nobody knows what they're doing. And I felt like that was very helpful for me to hear as an admirer of his.
Oh, that's good. Yes. That's a great piece of advice, and I think very true. Important to know. I don't know. I sort of always feel like, something Yeah, I don't actually know what I would say, except sort of just do what you love, isn't it? Sort of like don't get distracted by the things that are distracting, and just follow the thing you really love. That's quite hard, but I do think that is the only way to do it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Oh,
you, Ben. It was very nice to meet you.
very nice to meet you. Will you be there on Sunday?
I will. So hopefully I'll meet you in real life.
That'd be nice.
Well,
Be nice, Will.
yeah. And thank you, everybody, if there are any of you, for watching.